politics as usual. Welcome to Politics as Usual. It's your boy Mars, and as with me as always,
it's your girl Jay.
And thank you so much for joining us on Politics as Usual, where we talk about politics from A to Z. Oh man, it's been an eventful week. How's everything going?
So we just came off of the backs of going to Richmond. We were trying to get Mark Herring, our Attorney General of Virginia, to sit down with the people to discuss the fact that there's been no legislation, pen to paper, reform, anything set since, last year, since the beginning of the year, since January. There have been about 5 national cases out of Virginia where someone was either maimed or killed by the police. And it's just imperative at this point where we actually get people that are in office to actually help us. We actually get, things done, because Mark Herring is actually a Democrat. And to me, it's past the class or our Republican, Democrat, like any of those things. Like, we need people to do what they are supposed to do when they're in positions of power. We see that it can be done because we see that other groups are able to get their voices heard and to get change to occur. We just haven't figured out why we can't get it. And right now in Virginia, we have elections coming up today as we film this. It's the last day to register to vote in Virginia, but the primaries or the first elections for the November 2nd elections are going to be held the first week or so of June. I think it's June 7th or 6th or 7th, 8th, one of the two. It's one of the 3, but I think it's like June 8th. But basically, we just need to get out there. We need to vote. We need our voices to be heard so that we can make sure that, people that are in the positions of power, that they are there, that they're going to give us, actual reform. They're going to make sure that our lives are safe, and they're going to make sure that they are, after they campaign and after they get in office, that they follow through with the things that they promised the people that they were going to do. That's where we are on that, and we just hope that we can get that to happen. How are you then? Have you been?
Pretty good. Eventful week. Just living the dream. But just to piggyback off of what you were saying, I want everybody, please don't feel it's a late great Kobe Bryant famous quote says, "Job's not finished. The job is not finished." Please don't feel complacent just because we have Biden and Kamala in office. It's far greater than just the national stage. It starts at home locally. So for all the Virginia, all the 757, 804 residents, all of the Virginians, please get out there. It's the last day. Make sure that you're registered. We know we had record turnout for the presidential election, so we need the same amount of people coming out. We need to hold these politicians to the fire to make sure they're representing the people. So just piggybacking off and just giving that positive work and make sure everybody's going out there and continue to vote, continue to make sure the message is being heard loud and clear that we expect change, we demand change, we require change, and we're not going to rest. And only together, striving together to make sure we make that impact, will we actually see the change that we need. So please go out there and vote. Don't let anyone tell you your vote doesn't mean something. It definitely does. It definitely does. Excellent. So we have the first story that I wanted to pull up. So we're going to go ahead and pull that up for you guys, and we'll go ahead and talk about that. All right. I have the article here. So let's go ahead and check this one out.
There you go.
One of my worst fears about Trump packing the courts like he did is just an assault on our rights, and it looks like that might come to fruition. So let's check out this article about the Trump-packed Supreme Court agreeing to hear on a major abortion case.
So, Shep, and here's why. For nearly those 50 years, ever since deciding Roe v. Wade in 1973, the Supreme Court has said that states cannot ban abortion before the fetus is viable, and that's generally considered to be about 23 weeks into the pregnancy. And under a consistent line of rulings since then, the court has said that states can impose restrictions on access to abortion services, but only if they don't create an undue burden on the abortion right. That's why the federal judge who first blocked the Mississippi law, Carlton Reeves, said this in his ruling. The state chose to pass a law it knew was unconstitutional to endorse a decades-long campaign fueled by national interest groups to ask the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. So now the court has agreed to take another look at that very issue, the core of Roe. And as you noted, the Mississippi law would ban nearly all abortions after 15 weeks. So the question is, can the states ban abortion before viability without violating the Constitution? You mentioned the court's current makeup, and that's important because two of the justices who consistently voted to uphold Roe in the past are now gone, Anthony Kennedy and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, replaced by Trump appointees Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. And this will be Justice Barrett's first abortion case as a Supreme Court justice. And abortion opponents are hoping that she'll help give them the majority they need. This court, by the way, will hear the case.
All right. So, as a woman, I'm going to allow you to tackle this topic first. Ladies first. The floor is yours, madam.
Well, it's really quite simple. My body, my choice. I just don't understand why it's always coming for someone else. Like, if it's not for you, that's fine. It's the making what's for you right for everyone else. I think maybe for me, like I still think like I'm pro woman's choice, but I think for also in that same right, if maybe these conservatives or whoever came up with these laws or different things that they want to do, if they would also, it's always like, I'm going to penalize the woman. I'm going to, make it impossible for the abortion to even occur. I'm going to make it illegal for you to get in the first place. I'm going to make you have like extreme sentences. And like, I've heard some crazy things they want to do, but there's never anything placed on the man. And so if it was an equal thing of like, this is an equal, threshold, like if you are not supporting this child, if you're not supporting the woman, if you're not supporting, if you took her to the abortion, whatever the case may be, where there was equal partnership in it, I think then it would be a different thing. But it's always based upon the woman, when at the end of the day, most of the people making the rules are men. And so it really just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't understand it. I never have, but it's no, just no. So.
Right. Yeah, in my perspective, I think the poet laureate Tupac Shakur said it best when he said, "We have no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. We can't physically, as men, have children. Mm-hmm. We have no right to make decisions for another human being when it comes to their body," which I find it ironic because generally the right wing claim to be for less government, but what's more intrusive than telling somebody what they can do with their body? So it seems when it comes to their business, they want the government out. They don't want regulations there when it comes to them making a buck or cutting corners economically to make more profit. But when it comes to a human right or someone's then they're all involved. So it makes no sense. But I think at this point, the right has been established as a hypocritical party, and so often I hear, oh, we need to be bipartisanship, but I think the days of bipartisanship ruling has passed when this person, the op, is going 100% against the will of the people, and that's, I don't consider myself Democrat. I consider myself independent. There's some things financially for the country that I would be a little bit more conservative on, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to a person's right for their body, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, and I don't consider something that can't live outside, and that's another debate. What's viable life? That's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that's a personal decision. If you're anti-abortion, just don't have an abortion for you.
Mm-hmm.
That solves the problem. It's kind of like when censorship in the '90s with hip hop music, and oh, we just need to take it out the show. Just don't listen to it. If it's not for you, don't listen to it. I don't like Brussels sprouts. So guess what? I just won't eat them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard, and I have a problem with the government. So we'll keep an eye on this story, but I certainly have an eye on the government, especially with these Trump appointees. And what do you think about? And we've seen the Republicans do this. What do you feel about the Democrats in control adding more justices to the Supreme Court so we have a little bit more even keel like we did before RGB passed away?
I mean, I would even go a step further. If you're going to add seats, let's go ahead and take away some of the like. There's no life chair. Like some of these people, you've been there for how long? Like, I even think there should be a cap on certain things. Like because you, at a certain point, you're not in touch with the people. Like I just don't think overall, like me in my 80s is really going to. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think. I just think certain time you need to be able to have new, fresh eyes look at laws, and then maybe the country can actually evolve a little bit faster. I feel like that's the problem as well. Like we can have more seats, it's fine, more eyes. Always having more eyes and different, viewpoints can help. I don't think it will hurt, especially nowadays. We just have so many different people. You know what I mean? That we need to be able to look at, especially if we're trying to reform the systems that we have. We need to have fresh eyes on it, a balanced perspective. But I do think that for you to have literally get into that chair and you can sit there for the rest of your life, I just think that's a lot. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to backtrack, but just another point to the whole abortion acts and everything is just, to me as well, if there was more emphasis on, if you're pro-life, more emphasis on making sure that the child is taken care for after the fact, then I would have a more of an understanding as well. I feel like it's always like pro-fetus, but as soon as that child is born, oh well, take care of it. As soon as the mother needs help, oh well, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like there's no continuation of the pro-life stance, and I think that's another reason why there's a lot of contradiction, at least to me, because it's like, they're mentioning like 23 weeks, 15 weeks, like, okay, well after that it's like, oh, okay, good for you. You know what I mean? It's like we have, our systems are all broken and out of whack, and there's a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blaming, and a lot of times it's coming from people outside of that situation, and that's really disheartening. But yeah, I think adding more people will definitely be great, but looking at a cap would be probably a good option too.
I just don't believe in lifetime appointments for anything.
Right. Yeah.
Especially, they cap you running for certain offices at age for youth, but they don't cap it for age, and some will consider it experience. But sometimes youthful energy can be just as powerful as experience and exuberance and passion.
Right.
So, I personally feel a 77-year-old man shouldn't be running the country.
Yeah.
And so far, Biden has done some things that have been admired. So far, he's done some things that I feel he hasn't done enough, especially for people of. And I'm not going to continue to say people of color. I'm going to specifically say Black people in this situation
Mhm.
because he has done some things for certain people of color, just not our color. And so, like I said, the bills come due, and we need some executive orders. If that's how we have to get it done, to put water on this fire, maybe so. But I've always felt a 74-year-old person, a 70-year-old person, should they really, really be running the country?
Mm. Not unless you actually express the viewpoints of, like you said, youthful spirit can go both ways. There are some youthful
Sure.
older people, but at the same time, when you look at Congress, you look at the Senate, you look at, when they're there, some people are sleeping, some people are barely there, if they're at all. Like, they're not engaged because they've been doing it so long, they could care less. It's all just, fluff for them. And I think that's a difference. You know what I mean? When you have people
Sure.
that are still passionate about it. I look at Bernie, I still think he's very passionate about his job. I see him out
Absolutely.
there, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so it's just a difference. That's what I'm saying. It's like, literally, it doesn't matter. I just want to see that from my leadership. I don't want you to just get in the position and be like, I'm doing everything as usual. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, a lot of it has to do with what the candidates are really in the places of power for. Very few are actually to make a change. Most are either figureheads that they've been put in place by some corporation or some type of donor, or they're there to gain power because they already have money.
Right.
So that is definitely one thing that I can agree with former President Trump. Washington's still a swamp. He just highlighted the contradictions,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a swamp. We still have special interest groups swaying votes and things. I've talked before offline with you about a new macro form of government where you're looking what's good for the planet, what's good for the people, and then take it from there. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely the beauty about having a living, breathing constitution is that things can change. And I think we need to stop being afraid to ask if you want our vote. We need these changes put in place, put to paper. We can't just take words or promises. We need put in paper. And in
Yeah.
those mid term elections, if you're not doing work, we're going to find somebody else that can do the job. At any other job, you have quarterly or annual reviews, but we don't do that in government. We just let these people run the country into a hole
Mm-hmm.
for no reason. So I think overall there could be a lot of change. But did you have anything else on this topic before we go to our next segment?
No, I just, women's right, right to choose. That's it. Yeah, pro choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back after this. Thank you for checking out Politics as Usual.